Alright everyone, welcome back to this channel. So in the last video we have looked at the first two principles. From this research paper we have looked at the first two principles that guide the human morality. The two principles we have looked at them. So the main goal of this video, so why we are even reading this paper, why we are even learning about human morality is that once we understand how human architectures works, right? Once we understand how human architectures work, we could maybe hopefully apply that to machines, aka with artificial intelligence. That is the sole reason why we are doing this. Why we are studying about the uh, human systems, how humans learn, how uh, humans learn morality, how humans are how humans learn morality, right? So let's get to the third principle. Let's get to third principle, and I have found another paper. I found another paper which might be more relevant for us. Here we have a direct comparison with artificial intelligence and moral intelligence. Just see how moral artificial intelligence. We'll try to get to this paper too in this video. But first of all, I'll try to read this, the third principle. Okay, so we have finished the concepts of the moral self. Now let's get to the interplay between thoughts and experiences. Again, I'll try to put the paper in this description. I think it's a pretty interesting paper if you want to maybe study on your own. I'll put the paper, I'll link to the paper in the description. So the third principle. So a third principle that connects different theoretical perspectives on human morality is a realization that this involves deliberate thoughts and ideas about right and wrong, as well as behavior realities and emotional experiences people have. For instance, when they consider that important moral guidelines are transgressed by themselves or others, when they consider that, okay, I'll just read it again. The third principle that connects different theoretical perspectives on human morality is a realization that this involves deliberate thoughts and ideals about right and wrong, as well as behavioral realities and moral experiences that people have. Okay, and emotional experience people have. For instance, when they consider that important moral guidelines are transgressed by themselves or by others. Traditionally, theoretical approaches in moral psychology were based on the philosophical reasoning that is also reflected in legal and political scholarship on morality. Here, the focus is on general moral principles, abstract ideals, and deliberate decisions that are derived from the consideration of former rules and their implications. Over the years, this perspective has begun to shift, starting with the observation made by Blasi. Few would disagree that morality ultimately lies in action and that study of moral development should use action as the final criterion. But also, few would limit the moral phenomenon to objectively observable behavior. Moral action is seen implicitly or explicitly as complex and embedded in a variety of feelings, questions, doubts, judgments, and decisions. In this perspective, the study of the relations between moral cognition and moral action is of primary importance. The perspective becomes more influential as a result of this paper, Introduction of Moral Intuition, as a relevant construct. Questions about what comes first, reasoning or intuition, have yielded evidence showing that both are possible. That is, reasoning can inform and shape moral intuition, the classic philosophical notion, but intuition behaviors can also be justified with post hoc reasoning. Okay. The important conclusion from this debate thus seems to be that it is the interplay between deliberate thinking and intuitive knowledge that shapes moral guidelines. Okay, deliberate thinking and intuition. This points to the importance of behavioral realities and emotional experiences to understand how people reflect on general principles and moral ideas. This points to the importance of behavioral realities and emotional experiences to understand how people reflect on general principles and moral ideas. Alright, so yeah, deliberate thinking and intuitive knowledge. So both reasoning and intuition is both necessary. I think there is an interplay. There is a connection between the both, and both are necessary to come to moral judgments. That is what we have read now. So maybe one idea we could apply to AI here would maybe to understand to maybe to you know uh, maybe force the model to deliberately think about morality, like force the model to think whether or force the model to think again whether what it is doing is moral or not. Maybe that is one thing that we should do. And then intuition, I think model gains from the training data, about like from the data estimates. Again, uh, or maybe intuition, maybe it comes from the training data, from what it has, from what it already knows, right? Sometimes our intuition may sometimes intuition may guide the moral reasoning too. For example, people, let's say people from, people from 1700s, right? People living in the 1700s may, from their intuition, based on their intuition, may judge that slavery is not slavery. They may judge that slavery is moral, right? They may say that slavery, there is nothing wrong with slavery, right? Which of course we do not agree, right? Maybe it's intuition that does play a huge role, plays an important role in the perspectives on the moral reasonings that we have read that too. So again, we do not want the model to be guided by its previous intuition. We don't want the model to justify its own actions. We don't want that. And then we want the model to think again, to deliberately think again. Maybe include a procedure, maybe include another procedure to make the model really understand, to make the model really reflect on its actions, determining whether it is moral or not. Again, we'll keep moving on. A first way in which this has been addressed resonates with the evolutionary survival value of moral guidelines to help avoid illness and contamination as sources of physical harm. In this context, it has been argued and shown that non-verbal displays of disgust and physical distancing can emerge as unthinking embodied experiences to morally adverse situations that may subsequently invite individuals to reason why similar situations should be avoided in the future. The social origins of moral guidelines are acknowledged in approaches explaining the role of distress and empathy as implicit cues that can prompt individuals to decide which others are worthy of pro-social behavior. In a similar vein, the experiences of moral anger and outrage at others who violate important guidelines is seen as indicating which guidelines are morally sacred. Experiences of disgust, empathy, and outrage all indicate relatively basic affective states that are marked with non-verbal displays and have direct implications for subsequent actions. All right. We'll keep going on. In addition, theoretical developments in moral psychology have identified the experience of guilt and shame as characteristic moral emotions. Compared with primary affective responses, these secondary emotions are used to indicate more complex self-conscious states that are not immediately visible in non-verbal displays. These moral emotions are seen to distinguish human from most animals. Indeed, according to others, the perceived ability to experience such emotions communicates the degree to which we consider them to be human and worthy of moral treatment. The nature of guilt and shame as self-condemning moral emotions indicates their function to inform self-use and guide behavioral directions rather than communicating one state to others. At the same time, it has been noted that feelings of guilt and shame can be so overwhelming that they raise self-defensive responses that stand in the way of moral improvement. This can occur at the individual level, that the experience of collective guilt has been found to prevent intergroup reconciliation attempts. Accordingly, it has been noted that the relations between experience of guilt and shame as moral emotions and their behavioral implication depend very much on further appraisals relating to the likelihood of social rejection and self-improvement that guides self-forgiveness. Okay. All emphasize the moral concerns and moral desires from situational realities characterized by people's experiences and the moral emotions they evoke. The third question emerging from theoretical accounts aiming to understand human mortality, therefore, is whether and how the interplay between the thoughts people have about moral ideas, captured principle, judgment, reasoning on one hand, and the realities they experience, embodied behaviors, emotions on the other hand, is explicitly addressed in the empirical studies. Again, there is an interplay of two sides. So one is principles, judgments, and reasonings, ideas and thoughts of the people, and the other is experiences, right? Behaviors, emotions, etc. So there, of course, there is an interplay, and still, like I think a lot of studies are taking place on this thing. So that is the third principle. The third principle, again, it's like it's an interplay between thoughts and experiences. The thoughts of one person and their experience, they So there is an interplay between them. So based on these two sides, morality is achieved or morality is concluded. Right? Morality is identified or yeah, judged. We'll just go through this too. I think we could skip that empirical research. Uh, we'll just read the conclusion. Right? We'll just read the conclusion, and then we will. No, there is not. Okay, we will just read the conclusion and just move on to the next paper. And we just try to reflect on what we have learned, or what we have saw from this paper, and what we could apply to AI maybe. So our conclusion so far is that researchers in psychology have displayed a comfortable. Okay, however, not self-evident. Okay. I don't think this is very important. So okay. Um, okay. We classify research questions as referring to moral judgment when these address the dispositions and behaviors of other individuals, groups, or companies in terms of their morality. Uh, Alright, so we proceed by considering research questions that relate to psychological implications of moral behavior, the immediate effective implications of one behavior, and how this reveals one moral reasoning as well as one's judgment to others are addressed in questions relating to moral emotions. Okay. These are emotional responses that are seen to characterize moral situations and are commonly used to diagnose the moral implication. Okay. Uh, Finally, we consider research questions addressing self-reflective and self-justifying tendencies associated with moral behavior. Studies aiming to investigate the moral virtue people afford to themselves and the groups that they belong to, and the mechanisms they use for moral self-protection and relevant for moral self-use. Under this research theme, we subsume research questions that address the mechanisms people use to maintain self-consistency and think of themselves as moral persons even when they realize that their behavior is not in line with their moral principles. Okay. Even though research questions about okay. I think the other stuff in this paper, I think, might be irrelevant for us. Yeah, I think the other topics are irrelevant for us. I think they are just for research on human morality. I think the paper, I think the paper is guiding further research. The paper is just like a guide for further research on morality, human morality. That is all there is. That is all it is. I think. If there is any important thing, again, we'll come back to this paper. If there is any uh, important parts, I think we have gone through enough. Right. I think we have gone through enough. So what we have learned in this paper, right? I'll just open the notepad, the notes that we have created in the last video. The notes that we have in the last video, I think. I have opened one notes. I think this is one. There is another one. 50th law. I think I lost it. I think I lost the notes that I have wrote. Anyway, I think I'll write it again. We'll write it again, everything. New. Right, we'll just open this new notes and we'll write the three principles that I have learned. The first principle of human morality, where it comes from, is it is social situations or social judgments, let's say, right? What does it mean by social judgments? Uh, generally, generally, the perspective of the masses will be considered as the moral standard for almost any individual. Yeah, like yeah, okay. And then one more thing that I want to say that is that through this paper, our goal is not only to make our AI moral, right? Maybe that is yeah, of course, that is our goal, to make our AI more moral. But then, of course, there are many other challenges related to that. I mean, if our AI model just comes up with one perspective of morality, of course, there are a lot of types of morality in the in our planet. There are a lot of types of morality. There are diversified perspectives. But again, we don't want the model to have like only one, of course. And another way of putting our task is to make our model understand human morality, right? Make our models understand what is moral to humans. Now make our model able to accommodate different perspectives of morality and act based on them. That is also very important thing that we want our model to have. Of course, there are some ground principles. There are some ground principles on which almost people of all moralities agree. There are some, like there, of course, there are some ground principles, some basic principles. And so if we can make our model understand this, the ground principles of what is morality, what humans want, what humans considered moral. Once our AI model is able to like understand this term, understand this narrative, I think we will be pretty successful, right? Okay, we will move on. So the second principle of morality is self, moral self, self, a given individual may, I'll just, sorry for that, in order to escape from self-condemnation, a given individual may transgress morality or lower his standards, right? That is one thing. And self-reflective mechanisms are a must to overcome this problem. Let me just say that, right? So this is one thing. There is some problem. Why? Alright, I think that is okay. That now, yeah, we must be good now, right? So self-reflective mechanisms. We need self-reflective mechanisms. Why is it like changing all the time? Right? Hopefully it doesn't. Anyway, we need self-reflective mechanisms to reflect again on to judge themselves again. That is a good way of, maybe a good way of putting it. We need those. Again, personal autobiography experiences may play a huge role in shaping their own moral standards. Okay, and then the third principle guiding human morality is the interplay between thoughts and experiences. Yeah, right. not intuition. We'll just say personal experiences and deliberate rationale may will uh, yeah they play influential role in the shaping of the individuals right. So personal experiences and deliberate rationale. Okay. Yeah, these three are I think basically our takeaway from this paper, or maybe I'm pretty sure there are many. I'll like write a document. Uh, I'll try to like read everything. I'll try to read everything again. I think there is a lot. We can read it on like before the camera. We can do it. So I'll try to like read it again after after like finish shooting this video, right? And then I'll write this document and I'll post it in the description. And also I'll post the paper if you are interested to read, right? So now let's get to this other paper, Artificial Intelligence and Moral Intelligence, written by this independent, I think independent researcher. Yeah, might be independent. I don't know what language this is, but anyway, shit, right? So, right, anyway. So, yeah, we'll try to read this paper. At least we'll finish a little part of it. A little part of it. Uh, we'll try to finish a little part of it, and then we'll see what this paper has. Whether this paper is even relevant for us. I think it should be relevant, right? For the paper that we are writing, for the research that we are doing, it should be quite relevant for us to like maybe have like an introduction of or what we are doing. Still, like to be honest, even I don't have like a clear idea of what we are doing, clear task of what we are researching on, because we are just starting off, right? So I'll read the abstract. Okay. We discussed the thesis that the implementation of a moral code in the behavior of artificial intelligence system needs a specific form of human and artificial intelligence, not just an abstract intelligence we present. Yeah, no, sorry for that. Okay. We discussed the thesis that the implementation of moral code in the behavior of artificial intelligence systems needs a specific form of human and artificial intelligence, not just an abstract intelligence, not just an abstract intelligence. We present intelligence as a system with an internal structure and the structural levels of the moral system, as well as certain characteristics of artificial intelligent agents, which can slash must be treated as one individual entities with a complex, specialized, autonomous or self-determined, even unpredictable content. Okay, so we present intelligence as a system with an internal structure and the structural levels of the moral system, as well as certain characteristics of artificial intelligence system, which can slash must be treated as individual entities, alright, entities endowed with diverse or even multiple intelligent forms like moral intelligence, three open and even free conduct performing systems, okay, with specific, flexible and touristic mechanisms and procedures of decision. Four systems which are open to education, not just instruction, okay. Entities with life graphy, not just state graphy. I think I'll just look it up what life graphy means. Life graphy. I don't think there is a meaning of life graphy. Okay, there is meaning. Oh, biography, geography. Okay. State graphy. I think Yeah, so this is the definition of stratigraphy. The ethnographic exploration of relational modes, boundary work, and forms of embedded nets of actors offers crucial analytical avenues for researching a state. Okay, I don't think there's a definition. Let's see, look at the definition. Okay, stratigraphy. No, not stratigraphy. Anyway, I think we'll move on. I think we'll get the detailed definition once we go into this paper. Okay. 6. Equipped not just with automatisms but with beliefs. Okay. So we want the model to also have beliefs. Interesting. 7. Capable even of reflection. Yeah. So we have read again, right? We have concluded this again by ourselves that reflection is important. Reflecting again on what it has done, on its moral judgments. And then 8. Elements slash members of some real corporal or virtual community. Elements slash members of some real community. Okay. Cultural beings. Free conduct gives cultural values to the action of a natural or artificial being. Free conduct. Okay. Implementation of such characteristics does not necessarily suppose efforts to design, construct, and educate machines like human beings. Implementation of such characteristics does not necessarily suppose efforts to design, construct, and educate. The human moral code is irremediably imperfect. Okay, it is imperfect. It is a morality of preference, of accountability, not of responsibility, and a morality of non-liberty, which cannot be remedied by the invention of ethical systems. By a such circulation of ideal values and by ethical education, okay, invention of ethical systems by the circulation of ideal values and by ethical education. But such an imperfect, oh great, alright. So, but such an imperfect morality needs perfect instruments for its implementation. Applications of special logic fields, efficient psychological attainments to endow the machines not just with intelligence, but with conscience and even spirit. Okay, I think that's a pretty bold claim. Yeah, okay, anyway. Comprehensive technical means for supplementing the objective decision with a subjective one. Technical means for supplementing the objective decision with subjective. Machine ethics can slash will be of the highest quality because it will be derived from the sciences, modeled by techniques and accomplished by technologies. If our theoretical hypothesis about a specific moral intelligence necessary for the implementation of an artificial moral conduct is correct, then some theoretical and technical issues appear. Then some theoretical and technical issues appear, but the following working hypotheses are possible: structural, functional, and behavioral. The future of human and or artificial morality is to be anticipated. All right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean we are just looking at the hypothesis of the goal of this paper, like of the goal with building ethical systems with artificial morality. Uh, okay, so we'll just go through this paper, right? An artificial ethics for the artificial world introduction. I think that should be good. A little more. Yeah, 170 can we make it? Put number. Yeah, nice. Or maybe 180. Sorry for disturbing. That should be good. Yeah, there you go. An artificial ethics for the artificial world introduction. Artificial world, okay. The setting up of an artificial technical environment and its actual transition to an intelligent technical environment by the transformation of information machine into the intelligent machine generates a new practical and theoretical field of research that of machine ethics. The ethical impact of machine action was until now neglected, and the responsibility for its consequences was devolved upon its user, designer, or owner. Okay. What's meant by devolved? Just look at it. Please wait a minute. Okay. Devolved meaning having had power transfer or delegated to a lower level, especially from central. Okay. Okay. Giving power to okay, to passing on responsibility. That is what devolved is. So okay. So yeah, the responsibility of its own mistakes, of the model's mistakes, was neglected. If a model made a mistake, the mistake was not thrown upon on the model. It was rather passed on to human or owner, which is actually well not the right thing to do on building a machine. Anyway, we'll keep reading on. Human and artificial beings are acting and interacting now in new manners, and the machines accumulate multiple and meaningful functions related to man and society. Okay. Artificial agents are created not only to assist but to replace humans in such processes as fabrication, business, services, communication, research, education, and entertainment. Okay. So again, machines are built to replace humans in these fields, which actually quite quite scary and quite and also quite interesting. I think that is going to be. I don't know about how economic systems are going to work then if AI could able like completely replace us. But again, that is not the topic of discussion now. So we'll keep reading. Their conduct thus receives a moral significance. Right. The increasingly artificial world generated by the man-machine interaction, artificial world, sorry, generated by man-machine interaction produces not just a growing complexity of the machine, but of humanity itself and of its moral values. The human species evolved in all its dimensions: biological, psychical, social, and cultural. Now it evolves towards artificiality. As a biotic natural being, man evolves towards artificiality because in our process of aging and decreasing, we receive more and more artificial components and we become more and more robot-like by means of combinations between the biotic and the technical tissues. By the inventions of artificial muscles and artificial blood, now system mixed intelligence systems. On the other hand, artificial intelligent agents receive supersensorial properties such as infrared vision and ultrasound detection, and an efficient form of abstract intelligence. As computer scientists are anticipating, artificial intelligent agents will also develop by simulated natural evolution and by processes inspired by garden tillage or cake baking. According to other authors, artificial intelligence system will develop by learning from experience and by the assimilation of culture, following the model of a child's education. Okay. Society evolves too, mainly under the influence of the advances in information and management technologies. The cultivation of instrumental and intellectual automatisms transforms humans and human institutions in more or less efficient automata. Humans, machines, and organizations are now less and less different in their specific activities because of the shift in emphasis of the different types of behavior. Machines are gaining in intelligent conduct, and humans are reduced to an automatic one. While we know that humans have always been characterized by the higher structural levels of conduct, intellectual and spiritual, the human cultural dimension is also transformed, and a technical man is born. All types of values are renewed because of the emergence of new human needs, are often satisfied by virtual instance and virtual means in a virtual environment, which is a technical and mainly intellectual artificial environment. The artificial world needs an artificial ethics, starting from the fact that human and artificial agents are now going to explore and populate a virtual global intellectual environment. We anticipate that this environment will be governed by new ethics, a manifold, multi-layered, partially virtual and artificial ethics. Some parts and aspects of this new ethics are already born and developed. Okay, this is like the whole introduction. Okay. Four new ethics of human and artificial agents. Okay, so the four new ethics for human and artificial agents. Ethics of computing is useful for all who use a computer in the new technical intellectual environment. It's not a professional ethics, but one destined for computer and networkers with diverse professions who process and transfer information in this way. The following issues are considered characteristic. Okay, so these are all those for computer. passes and transmits information. The following issues are considered characteristic for ethical field: software property protection, ensuring user identity and intimacy, and even the sharing of preservation of any ticket. All right. So we have read this. Now let's get to this. So I think we may like skip this. We don't have to read it. Uh, I think we'll just read it, right? Anyway, computational ethics uses computers in the ethical field of philosophy uh, for theoretical and practical moral problem solving. Computer-based teaching and learning means and methods are adopted and developed. This ethical domain uses results of IT research and advantages of the telematic, distributed, flexible, and multimedia learning, assisted by knowledge-based AI techniques. Okay. Integrated moral theories are studied by computational methods which allow for foundational decision analysis in difficult moral problems. Moral effects of meaningful social decisions are anticipated by evaluating modeling and simulation. Okay. Machine ethics concern computer systems. The entire machine. All human activities have moral significance. A machine with similar possibilities need moral functions. Machine ethics is a new domain of research where generalists from philosophy and socialists in AI collaborate. The result will be artificial ethics, which will constitute a part of artificial philosophy. Machine ethics tend actually to become a field of the research in artificial intelligence, but it cannot be conceived and constructed without a strong philosophical foundation. Actually, philosophy can deal with specific problems related by artificial ethics because it evolves towards an artificial philosophy, even by multiple ways. The term artificial philosophy was first used by F.R. Laurel and designated the science of thinking developed by mathematical and technical methods. Earlier still, P.D. Lattle had studied synthetic or artificial thinking. Okay, I will skip that. Right, so let's just look at how the paper is structured, like what we have, what is shared in what. Yeah, I think I'm more. I think yeah. I think this is a pretty good paper to work on to do it again for our specific research work. We'll read this paper and then I will come up with conclusions. Uh, I think I'll end this video at here for now for today, and maybe I'll come up with conclusions from this paper from some maybe interesting details that may be useful for our research work. So thank you for watching, and I will yeah, I'll hopefully see you in the next video.